SimWorld presents Around the Table with E and the Fat Man.
What's up, everybody? It's me, it's the B.O.B., and I'm here with my man, E. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm glad to be with you on this fine weekend, Big Bob.
Absolutely. This is Around the Table with E and the Fat Man. That is E, I am the Fat Man, and this is where we talk about pretty much anything that we want. Typically SimWorld Hoops related, which today I think is a good day for us to take a little mid-season break and talk about our mid-season. If the season ended today, who would be?
Yeah, is this the official halfway point? I don't know if it is, but I feel like we're close enough to do this.
I think
right?
We're about there. I think we are. I think it is a midway point. We're 2.5 months in. We got 2.5 months left.
Let's do it then.
Yeah, so we're gonna do our mid-season. We'll call them the SimWorld Hoops mid-season A-team. We'll call it for now.
I like it.
So,
not all Americans, nothing like that. Just the A-team. You know what we mean. Fine, it's done.
So I always like to give you the honor, E. We'll start from the top. We'll start from the point guard position. Go ahead and give me your number one right now at point guard, or not your number one at point guard. Who? Let's start. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's kind of the one position. Yeah. Well, look. I mean, I got two guys in the backcourt that I feel super good about. Why don't I go ahead and just get my first two out there, and then I'll throw it over to you, Bob. And why don't we kick things off right? And I will delight and bring joy to Bob's life and tell him that my first A-team member has to be Bronny James. Running the point, scoring. I mean, the guy kind of does it all. He is the top scorer in SimWorld, 23.7 points per game. But don't forget the fact that he is also the number 7 assist guy in the league. He's averaging 4.7 assists a game. That's not necessarily easy to do when you're shooting and scoring all of that much too, as Bronny likes to do. I mean, look, you know, the team captain, I think a lot of us had questions. Was it the name or the game that was going to shine through? And with Bronny, he's got that legacy, but, you know, you can see the gene pool pass down there as well. He has delivered, he's delivered at a higher level than I even particularly thought he was going to in SimWorld Hoops. I'm impressed, and he's got to be the first name on my team sheet for the A-team. But to round out the back part of my backcourt, his running mate back there, absolutely 100% has to be Trey Turner.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows that Trey is good and that Southeast is pretty good once again this year and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to use the word falling under the radar because Trey Turner is not that. But, I mean, do people realize which is what he's doing? 19.9 points a game, third highest in the league. And I think the craziest thing is he's sunk 69 threes already this season. That is 17 more than Kadarius Loftus, who's made the second most at 52. And not only is he making just a crazy number of threes, he's knocking them in at a 66% clip. It's kind of insane, actually.
Yeah.
Trey was all-world as a junior last year, as a senior this year. Wow, he is something else. One of my favorite players, my pet cat. For me, I don't see how there's a lot of dispute here, Bob. I think it really has to be a Bronny Trey backcourt, but I'll give you a chance to either endorse or undercut me. Go.
Yeah, no, I think there are two very solid choices to be the top backcourt in all of SimWorld if we were taking all the teams and putting them together. However, neither of them are on my list. So, anyways, and I'm not saying that I think those are great choices, but I do have to look at, and it's a kid that it's his second year in SimWorld Hoops, and I gave a lot of, I gave him a lot of hate last season because he was the number 1 junior all year. But for the second half of the season, he tried really, really hard to give it away and eventually did to your choice, Trey Turner. And I have to go with, for my first guard, I have to go with Lacerius Outlaw. And
Ooh.
my specific reason,
Yeah.
I do have a very specific reason for that, and it is with all of the turmoil that Best Coast Ballers has gone through, losing Mikey Williams. They were the best backcourt in all of SimWorld Hoops, and I really expected Best Coast Ballers to absolutely just fall apart. And Lacedarius Outlaw has done exactly what he did at the beginning of last season. He turned it back, or he turned it on, and he has kept this team 11-4. I don't think Best Coast Ballers would even be close to a 500 record if not for him. It really is Lacedarius Outlaw and then everybody else. I will say, I like Evangelos Mullins on the team, Lene Newman. He returned from last season, but really, it's all about Lacedarius Outlaw for me, for that team, and he has kept that team. He's the number 4 scorer in SimWorld Hoops. He is also number 6 in assist man in SimWorld Hoops, and he just generally, I hate to say it, but I'm looking at the record and what he was able to do. Bronny James are sitting at 9-6 right now. Showtime Basketball, they struggled a little bit with and a little bit after Coach. Oh man, has it been that long? Coach Smith. There we go. I couldn't remember his name for a second. I just think I would take Lacedarius Outlaw as my 1, and my number 2 is a newcomer this season, and I'll have to. I don't think it's a bad pick, but I have to go with Jace Miguez. He was one that I believe Marsh picked early on in the preseason, and my question when I heard that name was who I didn't even know who the kid was, but here we are. He's sitting as the top guy for Lone Star Basketball Club, despite them having Nene Gibson, Derek Long, Tyrell Marr was a big pickup from them, I believe. Run DMV was forced to cut him. I think that's who it was at the beginning of the season, near the beginning of the season. But Jace Miguez is just taking a stranglehold on this team. He's the number 10 scorer. He's number 9 in three-pointer. He kind of does it all for them. He does start at small forward for them, but I would put him at my 2. Is he better than Trey Turner at threes? No. He's not. He is not that guy. Trey Turner, and he's probably in a category all of his own. I would probably put Loftus up there with Turner, but Turner has just he has put. You had mentioned before the episode, was it 16 or 19 more threes?
17 more threes. Well, he's made 17 more threes.
He's made 17 more threes than anybody else. So that kind of, I just imagine that whenever it comes time for Trey Turner to be drafted, that the Golden State Warriors are going to find a way to get him because he is perfect for that team. But
he would definitely fit in there for sure.
Well, I know.
Bob, look. No, yeah. Look, I got some things to say there. So hold on, let me jump in. I like the Jace Miguez pick. I can't find room on him for the roster for my A-team selections. Just because I got to put him behind Trey, and I don't hate Bronny like you do. So I've got Bronny on my team. So I got to keep him off for that reason. But I will say, I love seeing the top scorer of the Lone Star Basketball team make your list here. And keep in mind, that is the current best team in all of SimWorld. They are 14-3 heading into this weekend. And Jace Miguez has been a huge part of the reason why. So I respect that pick. Your other pick for your backcourt, Lacedarius Outlaw. You raised some important things that I love that you hit on in terms of Mikey Williams and that situation and him stepping up and leading a Best Coast team that not only you mentioned that you thought they'd have a hard time being 500 without LDO. Well, with him, they're 11-4. They're in this. They're a good team, right? But what I really love about LDO is how much of a Swiss Army knife he is. He can do a lot of things, and he can do them all really well. And as a matter of fact, he gets the number 3 spot on my A-team list. LDO can play guard, and you can put him in as a guard as you do, but at 6'4" and 205 pounds, he's also a wing player. He can swing down to that spot and hold his own down there. And You talked about some of the more intangibles, being a winner, being a leader for that team. Let me get down to some numbers for a second. He is still the number 4 scorer in all of SimWorld, Lace Darius,
Yeah.
at 19.5. Don't forget about that. Yet, what I think people do forget about, he is the number 6 assist man in SimWorld Hoops. He is averaging just a little bit under 5 assists a game, right where Bronny is too, by the way. Oh, and on top of that, dude gets to the line, and when he's there, he converts. He has taken the second most free throws of anybody in this game, and he's hitting them at a 94% rate.
Ooh.
If you want to knock him, and while we're over here in stats and number crunch land, he is the leading turnover man in SimWorld. He averages 1.9 a game. But look how often does this guy have his, what's his utilization rate? How much does this guy have the ball in his hands? He's either creating the offense or he's scoring his own. So, 1.9 assists or turnovers per game. And look, it's really not any different than numbers that Eric Busk, Norvell DeJohn Jones, and Darren Cruz, people who, are thought of as, ball handling wizards, are putting up out there. So I'm not going to knock him for that. I got to have LDO on my list too. Bob, you know what? Before I go into my big men, why don't you round it out with your third pick, and then we'll both launch into true bigs. I think we both have 2 true bigs to round up our A lists. So give me your number 3 guy.
Yeah, for me, this is the guy that nobody talks about, and I'm not sure why. He just kind of goes. I think it's because he doesn't talk a lot in the sense that he doesn't run his mouth, and he doesn't create all this. They always say, no press is bad press. If they're talking about you, they're talking about you, whether it's good or bad. But this guy, he just goes out there, he does what he needs to do, and it's Nas Hall from Philadelphia Elite.
Mm-hmm.
I need to. He's a little bit smaller than my 1 and 2, just slightly. He's an inch under. But I just feel like this is a guy that at his size, in the high school level, at his size, what he's doing, at the small forward position, I just think that I can't not have him on my list. He does everything. He's a dog. He gets his points. He does everything well. Is he blowing your mind on the rebound game or the assist game? No, but he's out there scoring. He's out there leading. I personally would consider him the leader of this team. Khalil Erickson, obviously, he's the old head. He made his
grizzled veteran. Yeah,
grizzled veteran. He made his 4 different stops during the off season and landed in Philadelphia. And Khalil Erickson,
this is true.
Yeah, he's been when it comes Khalil Erickson. If we don't see him in the dunk contest, something's rigged. But no, Nas Hall, he's the leader of this team, and I know they're only 5-11 right now, but I expect them. I do expect them to be able to turn around because of Nas Hall. But yeah, the 19.4. He's the 5th leading scorer in SimWorld Hoops, and nobody talks about him. It's kind of interesting. It blows my mind.
Well, and I'll have a little bit more to say about Nas a little bit later in the broadcast. But the one thing I will add is that that lofty point scoring total comes from a guy who didn't start and played about 8 minutes or so on average. I think the first 3, 4, 5 games when the prior coaching regime was in charge in Philly. Coach Dries has changed that up, and Nas's game has changed around accordingly. Can't fault you for that pick. All right, let's go into the bigs, and I'm going to start with my man, planted in the paint, and much like Trey Turner and Bronny.
Hold on here. You said you're going into your bigs. Who's your 3?
Oh, my third is Lace Darius Outlaw.
I just wanted to make sure. I know you said that you had to have him on your team, and
this is good because I like this, Bob, because we're talking about a lot of people. We're throwing a lot of names out there. At the end, we should recap everything. But yes, to do a little mid-show recap, my 3-guard or 2-guard, and one of them's kind of a swing wing, whatever backcourt here is Bronny James, Trey Turner, and Lace Darius Outlaw. My 2 front court positions. One, I think that this guy's name just has to be chiseled into this at this point. There's obviously a lot of season left, but I will be very surprised if he doesn't end up there.
Adam Max?
In spite of the fact that his team, they're struggling in St. Louis again, folks, but Tyson Simpson 8 double-doubles
Yeah.
by a mile, leading SimWorld in double-doubles. He is your number 8 scorer overall at more than 18 points a game, and he is producing those 18 points on a sizzling 71% shooting clip. And then, of course, when he's not doing that on offense, on defense, he's hanging around being Tyson Simpson, blocking more than 3 shots a game, ripping down rebounds. I mean, that's how you get to those double-doubles. It's been a frustrating year for him in a one-loss sense, and for a kid that's a competitor, that can't be easy. But leaving the North to further showcase and develop your skills, I don't know if any of us could say that Tyson made the wrong call there. So beyond the arch, not getting it done in the win-loss column doesn't change the fact that Tyson Simpson is 100% on my A-team list. Before I get to my final front court guy, I'm just going to bounce it back to you, Bob. Did he make your sheet too, or did you shamefully leave him off like you did to Bronny?
Who's Tyson Simpson? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I had him at my
Simpson's older brother. Rarely seen, but a few episodes here and there.
No, I had him as my starting 5 for sure. I found it. I tried really hard I tried really hard to make sure that I really got the best guy, and I think it's hard at every single position except center. Center is just it's Tyson Simpson, and then I don't know, he's number 1, 2, and 3, and then after that it's everybody else. It was just there's no question who, in my opinion, the best center is, and who I would want on my team, because it's Tyson Simpson. They're almost back to 500 now. But
I was going to say, well, Beyond the Arch is 7 and 8, and that's not, let's say, good, but what would they be without Tyson Simpson? Keep in mind, there's one other player ranked on this entire Beyond the Arch team, and that's Nick Bowie.
I'll tell you who they would be. Take a look at the North. The North is 3 and 11. And because I think if you,
I would say Beyond the Arch and the North are very comparable, except for the difference being Tyson Simpson. That's a great point.
It's interesting because I think the North would have a better record than Beyond the Arch right now if Tyson Simpson was still there, specifically because they have a little bit more talent. Like if you look at the two teams, you have Tyson Simpson and you got Nick Bowie. He's doing okay, but Nick Bowie you can pretty much swap Nick Bowie, Devin Fields, Daniel Horry. You can swap all of them around, and Christian Kelly, and you look at their stats, and it's all the same. But then you look at, if I look at the North, like you give Tyson Simpson, Alex Rodriguez, and Marcus Leifat, I think that they're, and Enzo Wolf too. I think they're probably a 10-win team.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. Well, I like that we're of like mind in the big picture here, Bob. We both have Tyson in as our man roving the paint. You said that nobody else came close to Tyson as far as a big. There's another guy who I actually think is close to his class who's going to round out my selections, but I'll let you go first. Did you pick another kind of, Simpson-esque center, or did you go with a more sort of power forward-y kind of guy here? Who's your fifth A-team selection?
Oh, you know what? I had to go with Arthur Lattimore at Cascadia.
That's a good one.
Yeah, he's another one of those guys where I talked about Cleo Erickson. I expect to see him in the dunk contest along with Kevon Jackson of Reigning Trays. If he's not in it too, we're going to into another topic here. But man, I will riot if those three are not in the dunk contest. But no, I had to go with Arthur Lattimore. I think that he is clearly the best power forward in All-SimWorld Hoops, at least with what he does offensively and defensively. He's the total package at power forward. Is he a 3 guy? No, you don't want him shooting threes. He's got 2 on the year, but so does, I think, what's his name? Oh man, why am I drawing a blank? Lorenzo Phenom. I think he might have one. Yeah. He has one, and those are not the guys that I want shooting threes. I'm a 76ers fan. I do not want to see Joel Embiid taking 5 and 6 threes a game, because that's not where he needs to be. That messes up the entire flow of the game, and Arthur Lattimore understands that. And I just think that he's a big reason. Again, they're 7 and 9 right now, but I think that they are going to be one of those surprise teams whenever the race to 1 comes around, and it's going to be because of him. And
I'm a huge Arthur Lattimore fan. I am completely intrigued by Cascadia too. It's so funny. We were just ripping on the 7 and 8 Beyond the Arch, but it's because what you just said is true. Like I can see Cascadia being a contender in the race to one at the end of the year. BTA, sorry, Coach Kusa, but I'm having a harder time seeing it. But look at this Cascadia lineup. You've got some really intriguing players. You've got the two transfers in Jason Tada and Montel Cage. But then in addition to Lattimore, you've got some interesting new additions. Tyshawn McGrady looks to be the real deal. Tamarius Holloway can play too. Colt Amarin, Chris Owens, some other guys here. They're sort of an intriguing bunch. But Arthur Lattimore, only 16 years old, by the way. But more than 17 points, shooting almost 60% from the field. I can't fault that. But for my final pick, I went in a slightly different and defensive direction. I figured that Bronny and Trey and LDO can fill it up for my guys. I want somebody down there to rebound and lock down on defense. And for me, if you want to find that player this year, his name is Derek Long, and he plays for Lone Star Basketball Club. Leading the league in rebounds, 10.4 a game. Leading the league in blocks, 3.7 per game, getting up on 4 there, Derek Long. And, particularly too, I think when you watch Lone Star games, he just does so much out there to really, really, really anchor that team.
Yeah.
Accordingly, I have him out there. I know he's not a double-digit scorer. He's not even necessarily crazy efficient for a big man, shooting about 56%. That's okay. I don't need him to be the focus of my offense. Lone Star clearly doesn't need him to be that. That's what Jason LDO, or what Jace is for. And Nene Gibson, not LDO. I've just been super impressed. He kind of has the ability to influence and, in fact, outright control a game just by being the defensive presence he is down low. So I'm going to put big old Derek Long there and have him line up to Tyson on my team. So before I throw it back to you, and we can talk about some honorable mentions for both of us and also talk about our coach of the year, that makes E-Lava's midseason A-team selections: Bronny James, Trey Turner, Lace Darius Outlaw, Derek Long, and Tyson Simpson.
And then you got mine is Lace Darius Outlaw, Jace McGez, Nos Hall, Arthur Lattimore, and also Tyson Simpson.
Also Tyson Simpson. All right. Well, I'm sure there were a few people that you left out that were kind of like, ooh, I kind of hate to leave that guy out. I was really thinking about him. You got 2 or 3 names just to throw out there quick, Bob?
Yeah, for sure. I mentioned them not too long ago just because of the dunk contest, but Kayvon Jackson for reigning Trays. I think leaving Benari James from the Indy Stripes off was tough. Guys like DJ Wagner, Bronny James, those are always going to be tough. But I do think I don't think he gets enough love despite some of the things he's done this year. But Kadarius Loftus has just been.
Yeah.
I think that he is one of those Trey Turner type players. But he's not the focus of this offense. It's DJ Wagner. So the fact that Kadarius Loftus is the second leader in 3-pointers made, it's so interesting to me. The fact that he is who had the biggest game this season, Kadarius Loftus, 43 points.
Yeah, that's true.
Hit 12 threes. Like he has done things, he's shown, but that's while he's sharing with players like DJ Wagner or Jared Quinney has done things for them this season. And then they have two very good defensive bigs in Tyron Snyder and Victorious Ilgauskas. So it's like there's a lot of people taken away from Loftus. If Loftus was the main guy on a team, then he might be ahead of Bronny in points per game.
Yeah. Loftus actually gets an honorable mention from me as well. Again, I love the kid, love his game. He did everything right. He's just not Trey Turner or Bronny, so I couldn't put him in. I'm sorry. I wanted to. I would have liked to. That would have been great, but you don't fit that way. There was somebody else who also really got a lot of consideration for me. And, at the end of this, I was like, how am I not including this guy? But again, I just couldn't put him in front of Derek Long and Tyson Simpson. And that's Trey Hyman. Trey Hyman has been really good all year. Again, when you watch some of the games, that he's in, it's obvious that he can do things to kind of control the paint and
for sure.
in Derek Long kind of ways, but he can also score, and again, I wanted to put him on there, but at the end of the day, I just couldn't justify it. Nas Hall, who made your A-team list, was also an honorable mention for me. And finally, a little bit of a strange one, but I'm putting him on there because I think he's still on, let's call it A-team watch for the rest of the year. And that's Syer Matthews of Gotham 5.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Syer has struggled with his shot all year, shooting a little bit north of 40% right now. But he is just a lockdown defender, great passer, really kind of makes G5 go when they're going well. I think if he can, maybe just get a little bit of luck, get a couple lucky bounces, have that shooting percentage number edge up closer to 50% by the end of the season, you might be talking about Syer. He might be the perimeter equivalent of Derek Long, just locking people down from outside and changing the game from there. So I wanted to mention him too. All right, Bob. Good show as always.
Whoa.
No.
You go ahead. Okay, I jumped the gun a little bit. Go ahead.
I was going to give you a nice fat pitch over the middle of the plate, and you just
struck
out of the box. You stepped out of the box. Yes, we're going to talk baseball now. No, I'm kidding. So we have one last category. That's what Bob was getting all fired up about. Let's go ahead and knock it out. Mid-season Coach of the Year. You get a nominee, and who are you giving your nomination to, Big Bob?
Generally it would be difficult, but since we had
turn down Darius Simmons,
I know.
I had
to. It still hurts my heart a little bit that he didn't get it last season, but it would be difficult. But with Coach Bilardi stepping down, I feel like it's a little bit of an easier choice. But I would have to go with Coach Dodge of the Originators.
Yes,
they're sitting at 12-3 right now. I can't remember the one loss, but their two losses to Bad Boys Basketball, I think, are by a combined 3 points. They could easily be 15 or they probably could be 15-0 right now, but they could easily be 14-1 if it was just one bounce goes their way in each of those games. I don't think at this point in time, there are some young up and comers like Drees and Skinny and Drayton, but Isaiah Pope, Dre Pope, all of them. I mean, they're good. But as of right now, what she's able to get out of her team, I have to go with Coach Dodge.
I love it because I have also picked Coach Alyssa Dodge of the Originators as my Coach of the Year. Like Bob said, 12-3, and the losses have been close. This is Coach Dodge's second season. She coached up Johnny Ballgame Baldwin last year and turned him into an absolute monster. If people want to say something about Coach Dodge, I bet it's that, it must be so hard to win when you've got DJ Wagner and Kadarius Loftus and blah, blah. But let's not forget, she brought those players to this team. She brought in big Victoria Ilgauskas, and she's coaching these guys, and it's working. You got three dudes in double digits. This is a good, high potent offensively scoring team. They're 12-3, and they are for real. They are no fluke. Alyssa Dodge now 18-10 over the course of 2 SimWorld seasons. And congrats, Coach Dodge, who is a friend of the show, by the way, although that did not influence us, and that is not why we picked her, but she has been on the show once before. We love Coach Dodge. Coach Dodge, congrats. Hope you keep it up, and hope we are declaring you the end of season Coach of the Year as well.
Absolutely. Well, this is a great show today. I'm sure there's going to be some people hating on my picks. I'm sure there's going to be some Showtime guys out there. Corey Yams out there probably talking about how I left Bronny James off, and I'll put my earmuffs on. That's all right.
Probably.
Any final words for the people, Eric?
No, just remember that SimWorld TV comes back. Actually, we got a special Sunday programming slate going on this weekend. We got the North taking on the Originators and Indy Stripes versus Heartland Zombies, but then back regular schedule on Tuesday, 7:00 Eastern. It's going to be Originators again taking on Europe. Hey, you want to see Coach Dodge get to work? You got 2 chances between today and Tuesday, so tune into SimWorld TV.
Absolutely. Thank you guys all for listening. It's been a pleasure as always, Eric. I hope everybody has a good rest of their weekend.
Bye, folks.